Hello friends, I'm super excited about today's recipe for the 2019 recipe project because we're back into the dessert realm. I had so many emails from you guys about the healthier pineapple sherbet that I posted. If you haven't checked that out yet, definitely go back and do it. So I wanted to revisit dessert and go with something really classic and pretty simple, chocolate chip cookies. As a reminder, before I get into this, it's not about making the recipe super healthy and perfectly clean. It's about small tweaks that you can make so that they're healthier and you can enjoy them more. That being said, I actually do have a super healthy, clean, fruit-based version of chocolate chip cookies, but that's not what we're gonna make today because I want them to be as close to what you're probably used to as possible. So today, I just wanna go over what normally goes in your standard chocolate chip cookie. Typically, you're gonna be using chocolate chips, and that's based on preference. So my personal preference is milk chocolate. Some people will use semi-sweet, dark chocolate, whatever the case may be. Milk chocolate, unfortunately, is probably the least healthy option that you can choose, but it is my favorite. But anyways, you would be using chocolate chips, baking soda, flour, just kind of white regular flour, vanilla extract, brown sugar, butter, salt, white sugar, eggs, and then optional nuts if you wanted to add that. So we're gonna change quite a bit here and use some more natural sweeteners that aren't quite so bad for you. We're gonna completely get rid of the butter, and here's what we're gonna use. So instead, for these chocolate chip cookies, and I'll walk you through the recipe as I'm doing it, but we're going to use almond flour, which will replace the white flour, baking soda, sea salt, coconut oil, that's gonna replace the butter, pure maple syrup, or honey. This is what's going to be our sweetener. We're going to get rid of sugar using 100% pure maple syrup, not any of that Aunt Jemima crap. Like I want real tapped from a tree maple syrup or honey or agave. You can use really any of those. I really like to use pure maple syrup as a sweetener. I don't have a quarter of a cup left, so I'm actually going to use a combination of pure maple syrup and pure agave syrup. You can mix and match, you can kind of do whatever, but the point is to replace that processed sugar with something more pure from the earth. We're still going to use 1 egg plus egg whites, pure vanilla extract, and then I am going to use dark chocolate chips. So pretty simple ingredient swaps. The process is going to be really similar, but I'm going to walk you through it and make some chocolate chip cookies. First things first, I just combined 3 cups of almond flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt into this bowl, and I'm going to place it over here. Okay, this is where the process is going to be a little bit different. So I've got 1/4 cup of melted organic pure coconut oil. Adding this to my mixer. And then you're gonna do 1/4 cup, like I said, of the either pure maple syrup or honey. And I think I'm gonna probably have to do kind of a combination, definitely gonna have to do a combination of both. So I'm gonna finish off this syrup here, which honestly, I used to love like the fake processed Aunt Jemima or store brand like fake maple syrup. And I mean, I still do, it's delicious. But the difference in using pure real maple syrup and pure real honey, it's incredible. The flavor is so much better. Oh, now I get to awkwardly open up this agave. I was gonna bite it. Oh no. Being on camera has made me not bite it. I'm gonna stop it. Okay, I got it. I had to use my teeth. Don't act like you don't do it too. All right, so I need it to be 1/4 cup, which really isn't, well, I guess it's kind of a lot when you look at it in terms of honey or something like that. But anyway, I'm adding this to the coconut oil, and I'm actually gonna beat this. It's over there if you can see my mixer, which I haven't broken out in probably 2 years. I never use it. You're gonna beat these together for like 4 or 5 minutes or so. It should turn into a really creamy texture. I'll show it to you when it's done. So I guess it's kind of hard to tell what you're looking at here, but it's like almost like a caramel consistency, really blended well together, kind of thick and syrupy, which makes sense because of what the ingredients are. So I'm gonna go ahead and add in 1 egg, 2 egg whites, and 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, and then mix everything together again. So obviously adding in the egg is pretty easy, self-explanatory, and then I'll just show you. I don't have a carton of egg whites or anything like that. I'm just gonna show you how I separate eggs really simply. I'll move over here. Hopefully I don't mess up because that would be kind of destroying the whole thing. But you're gonna crack it in half and just kind of go back and forth. Whoa, don't drop the shell. With the yolk so that the egg whites start to drip in on their own and you don't let the yolk slip in. It's not a perfect science, but it works. So I'm gonna do that with the second egg as well. All right, so those are just mixed well together. Just, you can't really see, but there's not really much to see. So usually when I make chocolate chip cookies with the flour mixture, you kind of add in a little bit of flour at a time, beat it all together. But with this one, you can actually add it all in together. So I just dumped that in, and then I'm trying to think if I should move. I'm just gonna try and face you guys from here. I don't have my handy cameraman visiting anymore. So locking up the mixer, and I'm just going to go ahead and get everything nice and combined here. So it's just gonna kind of do its thing for a few minutes. You could do it by hand, but especially using the coconut oil and the syrup, it's a lot harder. It's just a lot more work. So the mixer is kind of where it's at. Everything is blended there. I'm gonna just keep using this angle. I have half a cup of dark chocolate chips here. Do I wanna use more? Yes. Do I typically not measure out my chocolate chips? Correct. But with this recipe, I am gonna keep it measured out. It's still gonna be delicious. Dumping this in here, and I'm just gonna mix them until they're just blended in. But I feel like with most cookie recipes, you have to at least try the dough, which is tasty. It's plenty sweet. Almonds actually have a really nice sweetness to them on their own. If you've ever cooked with like almond extract, it's really strong actually, but the dough is really good. It's a lot softer, I think, than what I'm used to with kind of standard cookie dough. And the texture is slightly different as well. Almond flour tends to be like a little bit more crumbly, and I don't like the word grainy because that kind of sounds like it would be unpleasant. The dough is not unpleasant. It's soft and fluffy, but definitely has a little bit of a different texture. So I'm gonna stir in the chocolate chips just a little bit, and then we're gonna start rounding them on to baking sheets that are lined with parchment paper. And I do have the oven set to 375. That's what we're gonna bake them on for about 15 minutes. Okay, this cookie dough is super tasty. So the recipe I'm sharing with you guys should make about 26 cookies. I don't know about you, but typically when I bake cookies, I never get as many as they say I should. I guess I maybe make them too big, but the one thing to know about this recipe is that the cookies aren't gonna get kind of as round or flat as your normal kind of standard chocolate chip cookie recipe would. So I'm just rounding them on a plate. I don't really care about the shape of them. If you do, you can flatten them out with a spatula a little bit, but the shape won't change much from what you put on the tray to when you bake. So kind of just keep that in mind if what it looks like is something that matters to you or anything like that. But I'm gonna try to see if I can stick to the recipe and get the 26 cookies out of it, but I'm not really being exact with my measurement. It says to use a tablespoon. I'm just using, my regular spoon. I'm just gonna kind of wing it, but does anyone really measure out their cookie dough? I honestly wanna know. If you measure it out, please let me know in the comments. I got 24 cookies out, so I got 2 trays. And to be fair, I probably ate like 2 cookies worth of dough, so maybe it does make 26. It's kind of a random number, but anyway, 375. I'm gonna bake them for between 14 and 16 minutes. Weird times. Baking is always way more precise than cooking, in my opinion, so I'll probably stock them just to make sure they don't get burned, but I'll show you when they're done. This is what I meant about them looking different. They look pretty funky. I already had one and Matt already had one, but they're really good. This is probably gonna burn my mouth, but to prove to you that I like them, they're really good. They're nice and fluffy. See if I can put this. Nice and fluffy on the inside. Crunchy on the outside. Whoops, here you go, puppy. Fun for the whole family. These are pretty good. So, in this house, we tend to eat all of our sweets frozen, even cookies. If you haven't tried it, you should give it a shot. So, I'm gonna store these in an airtight container in the freezer. We just like things frozen. That's honestly why we do it. Matt kind of turned me onto it, like candy bars, cookies, everything. But also, you tend to eat less and snack less if it's frozen and in the freezer. So technically, the health coach side of me has to tell you this. 1 cookie is a serving, and it'll like equate to about 1.5 servings of your carbohydrates for the day. So to give you an example, 1, I'm already overeating because this is my second one. because of my weight and my frame and my fitness goals, I should really only be having 2 servings of carbs per day, not counting the carbs that come in fruits and vegetables. I'm talking about kind of starchy bread-like carbs twice a day. This one single cookie is equal to 1.5 of those servings. So still not something that you want to have regularly all the time. It's really meant as a treat, but it's a really good treat. If I have it in the freezer, I'm likely to only grab one instead of a handful, whereas if I kept them on my counter, I would grab one every time I passed it. So something to think about. If you guys try these out, I would love to see your pictures, especially if you kind of shape them and, you know, don't want them to look as funky as these do, but would love your feedback.